Hello everyone. How is everyone doing today? Alrighty, SurrealDB again. This time, I hope we're gonna finish fighting with permissions and we'll be able to move on into other stuff because this is kind of dragging on. But at the same time, there was just so much to discover. So, yeah, the SurrealDB 2.0 beta number 1 was just released. So let's take a peek at it. All right. Because this is kind of a big deal. Because it's not alpha anymore. It's beta. That means that we won't be getting more features per se before, the full 2.0 is released. It'll be more of, fixing things, making sure things are stable, behaving the way they should. So it'll be good for us to start using it. So we'll see if we can actually make that happen today or tonight. So what's up with beta 1? Big note, due to a change in the underlying way that SurrealDB stores data, you will need to export and import data for any existing databases that you would like to move to 2.0 beta. Please see the following guide for details. We'll look at that because I tried to do things quickly and they didn't work the way I expected them to work. So what features? What really happened? And this list here, I believe, is an actual list versus the previous alpha, not actual, full-on release from version 1.5. Okay, so this is just the newest from previous alpha 10. So this is nuts. So first of all, added asynchronous building for indexes. Yeah, building indexes can be lengthy and may time out before they're completed. Use the concurrently option to build the index without blocking operations. The statement will return immediately, allowing you to monitor the index building process by executing the info statement. Awesome. I would consider that a basic feature, but at the same time, it's not really that basic. But I guess this will be a default for when you have larger database already and you want to add indexes, and yeah, it could take time. So cool. Very welcome feature. Then we have improved HNSW persistence. I don't even know what HNSW is. The index is lost across restarts. Okay. So this is basically for some kind of storage system. So we don't have to worry about that. It's just, things are progressing. Added range value support. This is actually something really useful. So what is happening here? The value range currently represents a range of records on a table rather than a range of values. Okay. So this way, this PR introduces a breaking change where value range rather represents a range of values, introducing a new ID range type to retain the original behavior of value range. Additionally, it's not possible to check if value is within a range and to loop over a range of integers with the it's now possible to check if it's within a range or to loop over the range of integers with the for statement. So we can basically specify array that's from 1 to 5, just 2 dots. Or this will be excluding the 1. And, we have a bunch of those fancy things. So we can basically check if 3 is in a range between 1 and 5. Or we can use characters. All right. This will be probably from A to E. Maybe. And yeah, this is awesome because we can loop over those, and that simplifies just so much if you have some kind of stable number of things to loop over. And yeah, that makes me very excited. This will be very, very, very useful. All right. What else do we have there? Added ability to select with version, create with version, and insert with version on SurrealKV. So this is very interesting because suddenly we could do, this is a follow-up to this one, which means select all from table version. So the whole idea is that a version query. First, let's create an initial version of a record. So create user, set name, John v1. And let's say that the current time is this. Now, when we update the version, the record, select without a version returns the latest update, right? We just get what it is there now. To get the initial record, use the version clause with a timestamp. So we could basically select from everything from user, but version and a date. Okay, so that means that we can basically say, hey, show me what was in the database as of this time, right? And this is a little bit different than the like the change tables or change feed, because with the change feed, the feature that we already had, you can say, hey, show me all the changes that happened to, let's say, this table since that time. Here we can say, show me what this particular record or this specific thing, show me what the database looked like at that time of day, for example. So we could just, pick what it was like before, which is absolutely awesome. And additionally, we have create with version. So support for creating records in the past. So we could basically inject something in the past, which is, I know, kind of weird. Maybe, I can see it being useful if you want to maybe treat your database as some kind of how things were happening in time. Not that you would use this feature for auditing, but more if like, okay, that person, the state of that thing at that time was like this, at that time was like that, and you want to basically go through data this way, like through slices of data. I don't know. There's support for that. I wonder if there's support also to disable that, so that maybe you have highly, data that basically should not allow for injecting stuff in the back, because maybe this feature is used for auditing and should be, integral. Like, depends on importance of that, I guess. And then also we have insert versions. So again, create stuff in the past. Just you can add more than one thing at a time. Okay. This is something interesting. And so far it's only with SurrealKV. Then we have added the enforced keyword to define table. This is something we might actually use. So what it does is, it's nice to be able to enforce relations on a relation table without having to do the checks for it manually. So what it does, basically, it adds the enforced keyword to the type relation in out clause on the define table statement, which ensures that for new relations created on the table, SurrealDB will ensure that the in and out for the relation actually exists. So we wouldn't need to make any special checks that allow this relation to happen only if in, and take the ID, make sure it's not null, and then out, make sure it's not null. We don't need those assertions there anymore, because this enforced keyword basically does that for us, which is awesome. Because in my case, I like to make sure that, that one thing exists and the other thing exists, and only then create a relation. A little bit more, I guess, classic approach, less flexible, but in the data that, we were designing so far, I don't think we had a need to, make a relation first and then create the both sides or whatever. In our case, we always, we all only want to make it possible for somebody to like something if there is somebody to like it and there is something to like in the first place. So this is a perfect spot for something like this enforced keyword. So this is exciting. And this is something we could probably try out when we switch to the beta and see how it probably behaves if Because what if we have where is it? What do we, not this, wrong stream. What if we have something like this, where user can like a post, so they should be able to create the liked relation, right? But we need to make sure that post exists. So if we slap on enforced on this relation, does it change how does it behave if the user doesn't have access to the post? Will that fail? Will it pretend that it doesn't exist, or will it allow me to do it? And then if it allows me to do it, does it kind of make it unsecure or something? Don't know. It's a bunch of interesting questions. Continuing, we have schemaful tables are now type normal by default. This is something fairly simple. Basically, when you define a table to be schemaful and you didn't define what type it is, it will automatically specify the type for you explicitly that it's normal. It's not a relation, it's normal. The moment you define it as schemaful, it will assume that it's normal. So if you want, basically, if you want to define a table that's schemaful, you need to know if it's a relation or normal. I don't know if there's probably no keyword for both. So in some kind of sense, because right now I believe you can make a table that is neither normal or relation, and it could contain both, I think. So that's interesting. Suddenly we can't make it to have both, because you would need to explicitly specify the relation, that it's either a relation, because if you make it schemaful for normal, it won't be. But at the same time, schemaful means that if you want to have in and out, like in a relation, you need to specify it explicitly. Okay, so that makes sense. Yeah, that actually makes sense, because you will need to specify them explicitly anyway, and that will already kind of turn it into either this one or that one. Yeah, interesting. Don't know if it's gonna really impact anyone in doing anything serious, at least. Added the literal types to the query language. So this is something interesting. Something actually amazing. So basically, suddenly, we can make some kind of enumerations or various specific little subtypes. So let's take a peek at this example here. We're specifying type in those brackets. Just in those brackets is the type that can have a value either of A or a string B. So it's like an enum, right? The same thing here, either this number or that number, or it could be either this number or that string, or it could be an array where the first element is a number and the second element is A, B, C, and then you can put only this thing in there. You know, things of that. We can just specify those little funny types that are very specific to our use case to just put it here as type. Okay, like this define field object on the table test. Also specify that type is an object where A is a number, or it's an object where B is a string. Okay, so we can have either one of those, and suddenly you don't need a complicated assert statement just to specify that that's the type. You can just have that and done. So this is, again, something that would save a lot of repetitive code, lots of bunch of checks, and this might be actually possibly in the future optimized a lot to make it work faster without you doing a lot of work on your own. So this is awesome. 100% awesome. Because before, if you wanted to have something where you have basic enum, you would need to basically add and assert that the value is in and then list out those elements. Here we can do that. The moment we'll be able to define our own types that we can reuse throughout the schema, that will be just boom. Would change everything because we could reuse the code. But we don't have that yet, so this is a good step in that direction of specifying our own types. So this makes me very excited. We have a few more things, like added the chain method. I don't think it's... Oh, adds a .chain function methods. Do we have documentation for it here? I don't think so. In some instances, it might be useful to alter a value between chain methods instead of assigning it to a variable first and then to continue the chain. So I guess what happens here is that we can have some kind of value, like a list of, an array, and basically chain it with some function that will be called on that, and this basically adds a little dot notation. I'm not sure how that works. We'll need to find documentation for it. I don't know if this is being mentioned anywhere here. Weeks ago. That's the same thing, right? Yeah. Don't know. Interesting. I'm sure we're gonna encounter that at some point. I'll add it to my notes to check that out at some point. And then we have the type-let statements. So again, just more ability to type things, allow more options for type enforcement, which is awesome. So I guess we can just specify type and let statements. Again, we don't have documentation, but we're gonna get there, all right? Then we have also type function returns. Now we can specify that when we define a function, it absolutely needs to return an integer. This is not only for us to quickly glance like, oh, this is gonna return an integer, but also for, making sure that basically if we would try to return something else, this shouldn't compile. So, yeah, that's awesome. And what else do we have? Functions beginning with meta renamed to record. So, and also added new record exists. So this is basically so that the meta.id turns into record ID, meta table turns into record table. It just makes more sense. It's suddenly it's like, where the hell did meta come from? Now we just easy to understand, easy to read, or record table, so we can assume that, okay, we're going to get a table part of the record ID, just like this one. The table part of the record ID, and yeah, this is basically the same thing. And then we have a new record exists function for checking if a record exists, and that's it. So you can do person Toby, get this ID, which will be just Toby, person Toby table, which will be just person, and person Toby exists will be true or false if this exists. So this could, in theory, replace and these functions also available on record IDs. That means that you don't need to write a record ID and put it here. You can just use dot notation, which is awesome. And I guess because we have parentheses here, it knows that we're not looking for the ID field, we're looking for ID function. So this is suddenly starting to become more and more like an actual programming language, which is awesome as well. Yeah, super awesome. What else do we have? Gosh, there are so many things I would actually like to apply to our schema. Added new functions, value diff and value patch. And this one has triple colon, I guess by accident. So those new functions, being able to calculate the diffs between two values is not possible unless using the update return diff statement syntax. So this is basically exposing that diff calculating code via value diff to and value patch functions that values can be diffed and patched using the diff match patch algorithm. So that's awesome. Return toby.diff. Oh, and again, available as inline. Awesome. So we can check what's the difference between Toby and Tobias or some other stuff. Would that work? I think I have fired up the new beta version, just not properly yet. Let me just get a new query. And I want to see if that's gonna work. Because I don't think I have things deployed properly. Run. Huh, look at that. What? What the hell is this part? Oh, so this is like a proper, like a Git style, the patch style thing, right? So yeah, there's a change. Path is just right the main thing. And there's Toby. The E was removed and AS was added. Wow, this is actually awesome. Just imagine what you can do with that on the coding side when you request that data from the database. Ooh, this is pretty powerful. And patch? Oh, this is basically if we gave it the whole patch, right? We have just a bunch of diff here. Like 1, 2, 3, a number compared to a string, it will be probably return that there's a problem with the database. Expected token diff. Oh, I wonder if this is Surreal is just not kind of not comprehending what's going on here. Interesting. Yeah. Okay, there we go. Wow, this is awesome. This opens up a lot of doors. Yeah. So we've got that, and then the last thing here is the array function changes and addition. So this is pretty powerful. We have array all, array any, array filter index, find index, and we also have array filter and find functions. This is like nuts. So what do we have here? Some of the array functions are some of the functions available in array types in other languages, but are missing a few pieces of functionality. Especially now that we have the closures, bringing some of these functions in line with other implementations is a great idea. So array all allows for one argument to check if all array values are truthy. Okay. 2 arguments to check if all array values match a value. And to check if array values are allowed by closure. Oh wow, so these actually have multiple ways to call them. We have any to check if, any of the values. Filter index allows for 2 arguments to retrieve the indexes of array values which match a value. So a little bit more complex to finding an index and all that stuff. We also have additional functions like every, which is an alias for all, a bunch of aliases. So every, some, includes. Oh, so just more aliases. I'm not sure if I like the idea of aliases that much, because suddenly you have multiple ways and you need to look up documentation if this is actually the same thing or maybe not the same thing. Not sure. Kind of don't like it, but again, that's just personal preference, right? Improves the behavior of the value diff functions so that when diffing values, which are parameters, the output is the same as when computing the diff between any computed value. Okay. The patch, and then we have renames ends with to ends underscore with. Okay, just to line up with the overall naming convention. Is the same naming convention as in Godot script, which is kind of handy recently. And we have starts with. Okay, sure. And I wonder if that's all that there is, because I recall that there was also a map, but maybe that was already in Alpha 10. Do we have Alpha 10 somewhere here? Anonymous functions. Oh yeah, because we added anonymous functions, right? Let double is this. I completely forgot about that because this is really powerful. Gosh, that would be so handy in short little things. Yeah. Did we have the map? We had the method chaining. You know, like something, something. This definitely needs more documentation. Unless I'm missing a lot of stuff in the docs, so now I'll need to reread everything. But yeah, that's awesome. And then on top of that, we have a bunch of bug fixes, like the record T casting from a string. We encountered that problem once. Incorrectly parsed identifier characters. Oh, there was some T which was confused with Z with dates and stuff. Connection ID is now stored inside the session data. That's awesome. Fix certain identifier characters not being parsed correctly. Fix the remote fields added to output result inside select queries. Okay, and this is the big thing: deprecated file // So we'll need to look into that. We'll get to that in a second. Added surreal fix command. Exports no longer use explicit transactions, and lib path rename to SDK. So basically, if you use the Rust SDK, it's not /lib anymore, it's just /SDK. So yeah, this is when it comes to changes, and I just need to click this little thingy. So basically, file // is ambiguous given there are multiple possible file formats. Not even sure what exactly it refers to. So this is basically about the start command. Okay. And we'll probably need to go through that because this is in the documentation. Yeah, this is inside the documentation. That's already merged in, so it should be deployed. So let me show you something. Because, you know, with this being here, the release, I figure, you know, we might as well update our current Alpha 10 to Beta 1 to you know, be on something more stable, have more features so that because, you know, now not much more should be being added. It should, because, you know, that's the beta status. Alpha is just keep adding content. Beta means the content is already there. We just need to polish it. So it becomes stable. We know that the features that we already have available will be mostly just that, and we shouldn't be expecting more. Therefore, we could update our schema a little bit and possibly just continue with that and know that we won't have to change much anymore. So the first thing to do, of course, is to go to new tab and search for something like SurrealDB Docker Hub. Okay. And suddenly we can see that when we go to tags, there's the new beta. Beta 1 pushed 12 hours ago. So what I did, I of course went and tried to deploy it. So let me maybe put that up here. And we can zoom in. And this is basically the way I have it deployed right now. We switched from Alpha 10 to Beta 1. Can I collapse that to have more room? Yeah. So that's the one change. And then it was complaining that I had this. Okay? That I'm storing the database in a file. So I'm like, what do I put here? I tried the Surreal KV, But I guess I would need to have it like separately deployed somewhere, because now it just pretends that data isn't there. So yeah, it's kind of strange. So we need to figure out what to actually put here. So in my opinion, we can just go to the documentation and figure it out. Go to installation. Running with Docker. I don't think we'll have anything here. Let's see if this got updated. Okay, just run it. This is pull and we mount my data to my data. SurrealDB latest start. And this is using the file. This is supposed to be deprecated. So, the same thing, file. So I am not sure. We would probably need to get all the way to the command line or something. Start command documentation. Bind log user pass unauthenticated. Positional arguments. There we go. Path gets the path for storing data. If no argument is given, the default of memory for non-persistent storage is assumed. So this might be it. Because previously we had the normal stuff, right? Arguments for persistent backends are combination of the backend name, a colon, or this, and an address or file name. So one will be, for example, SurrealKV//mydb or rocksdb database. And okay, we have rocksdb, foundationdb, indexdb, memory, SurrealKV, or tikv. So how could we actually figure that out? Run a disk-based server, and this is start file, and there should be no more file thing. Yeah. That's not how it's supposed to work. So those pages are not up to date yet. Oh, because this is an in-memory server? No. We've got a link to the other thing for a second. Start command, CLI tool. Where is it? Start command. We have just those. And nothing else. So the position argument says the path for storing data. The backend name and this. So, I mean, I have this, right? SurrealKV. So let's try it again. What I'm not trying to do is we're actually gonna do something here. Whoa, that's so large. I'm actually gonna go here. All right. And what I'm going to do is I have streaming folder, okay? And in here I made this backup of the data. And here we have the streaming surreal.db. That's the file that I was pointing at. So where do we have the other page? This one here. So let's just have those two. I was pointing exactly to that one, all right? Streaming SurrealDB. Data. Oh, yeah. Sorry, because this is basically pointing that, hey, inside the Docker container, in the /data directory, create this file, okay? And this is where you're saving all the data. And then we take that /data folder and basically map it to the SurrealDB directory on, in this case, in my NAS server. So what's going on here now is that I want to keep it the same thing. We'll keep it as SurrealDB and whatnot, okay? So I'm gonna go and straight up delete this contents here, all right? We're just gonna go delete. Sure. Okay, this is nice and empty. So now we're gonna say SurrealKV, and let's just call it streaming surreal without any extensions, nothing. It's just data surreal streaming surreal. And when I'm gonna save it and deploy it, where is it? Update the stack, okay? Yeah, update please. Notice that I have those here set. I'm passing the username and password. I noticed that I had some trouble without that before. So let's see. It started running. So we can go and check the logs. Okay, running. KVS TR starting KVS store at SurrealKV. And look at this. It added extra slashes for us. So I guess we need to get rid of that part. And started. Credentials were provided and no root users were found. So it kind of created a new database and is available here. So let's see if we got anything here. Can I refresh? Thinking. What the heck's going on? Oh, we got streaming surreal. Look at that. So we got a bunch of stuff created. All right. So this is correct directory. That's good. The only thing is we probably have all data, right? So I could just go and go here, connect. Okay, I'm connected. I can run this stuff. The only thing is we have no tables, nothing in this database. I mean, in theory, the database doesn't even exist, all right? But hey, we've got something working, right? So what is gonna happen? So now I'm thinking, because we could either export everything that we had and bring in here, or we could just update our tables and just add them one by one, which I think would be probably the simplest option, just to go over all our tables and quickly update them to see if we can simplify them, and yeah, and call it a day. I just want to do one more thing. We're actually gonna go, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop this stack, okay? So we're gonna stop the SurrealDB. Come on. You can do it. Okay, it's stopped. So we're going to go here. We try to connect, and it's like, oh, thinking, we can't connect, okay? So we have it stopped. So I want to fix this little extra slash. I'm just gonna remove it here, and this should be good enough, I think. I hope. As I believe the SurrealKV is just a default storage. I don't know how much, you know, it seemed to start working, right? It created files and everything. So this should be fine. And what I'm gonna do now, just in case, is delete all this data again. Just delete them completely. We didn't have anything there. There we go. And we're gonna save it as this. And this should be our thing that works. So I'm just gonna copy this part just in case. And right, let's update the stack. Let's see what happens. Oh, it's so quiet on stream today. Nobody's talking. All right. So what do we have here? Same thing. Created. Starting. Now it created proper double slash because it seems to inject it there. And there we go. Let's see if this actually properly mapped to wherever it was supposed to. Because that initial slash was there initially to specify that, hey, this is supposed to be in a slash data directory on the Docker container. But I don't know if it's really there. So if it mapped correctly, here, when we refresh, we should see the actual data being created there. Okay, showed up. 2210, that's exactly 1 minute ago. Perfect, so that worked. We have our clog, our C-log, okay, nothing here. And we've got our manifest, which shouldn't be much here either. Awesome. I will actually want to see how much changes as we're adding things. Very curious. Okay, so that works. So what I'm gonna do now is actually edit this once more. And I'm just gonna comment out all those here. Because the thing is that we just created a database with a root user and password. We specified it. This is just injected from the values here, right? You may use... Will be used to know that you may also reference... Oh yeah, there you go. This is like some kind of new stuff I just updated Portainer. Haven't seen that before. So we basically replaced this with some name here and password with some random password. And this is what was set to be our root user for that, database that we'll be using for testing. And the thing is that now by default in 2.0, previously there was also something like auth, okay? And you needed that to specify that, oh, I want authentication enabled. This is enabled by default. And now that we have the user created, we can comment those out, and we don't need to send them every time we start a container. Therefore, we don't have them anymore as environment variables. So that's like, a little bit safer, because, if somebody hacks into the server, into the database server somehow, the data is encrypted. It's just suddenly they can check the environment variables, and it's like, oh, wait. We can just read the username and password of the root user for the database. This way it won't be sent there. It won't be accessible from that instance, from that Docker container. So we can just simply, let me just fold it down and update the stack. And hopefully we'll see that it won't complain. It will just say like, oh, we found a user, we were using it, not doing anything else. Okay, let's see the logs. SurrealDB started. Okay, so all that's here. This is the same password and everything. Can I connect? Yes, we connected. Okay, all right. This runs. Yeah, there we go. Awesome. So that means that we have it deployed. Huh. I did not expect that it's gonna actually work that way. I was afraid that we're gonna have a little bit more problems. That's good. That means we can get rid of that. And what I'm going to do now is I'm gonna open up our repository for, learning, SurrealDB. Okay. And I was already starting to just put in here, like, okay, what do we have? So let's just fix that. This is in here. And this should be it. This should just make it work. So let's do, where's Git Kraken? There we go. We're just gonna make small fix to Docker compose file. There we go. And if somebody wants that config, this Docker compose file, go ahead, grab it. It's in the repository. Link is in the description. If you're on Twitch, just head on to YouTube and find it there. Or just go to my GitHub, at xconti is the handle. You'll find it. Learning Surreal is the name of the repo. Okay, so if that's good. That means we can go forward and start actually working on something. Awesome. So let's close that up. As you can see, I already made a stream7 folder directory. It's already there on the in the repo, and we have everything that we worked on so far. So now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna try to one by one go over all those once more, and we're gonna try to update a few things that we figured out that we could do thanks to the newest updates. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to collapse all this and put it side by side with some of the windows. This one. Okay. So what I want to do is basically note all the little changes. Not here. This will be somewhere here in releases. So I won't be touching on any of those. Range value support. So I'm just gonna add to the list. Ranges. Can we use them? Select version. We don't worry about that. The enforced. How do we use enforced? Do we have an example? No. It adds an enforced keyword to the type relation. Let's see if we have it in the docs already. Maybe we just have it here. So Surreal query language, statements, define, table. Do we have enforced? Enforce or something? No. Doesn't seem like we have documentation for that yet. Here on the side. Schema full. No, we don't have documentation for it yet. So we need to figure out on our own. Okay. Sure there's nothing? Huh. Interesting. We're really discovering it. Okay, so in that case, we have adds an enforced keyword to the type relation in out clause on the define table statement. This keyword will not affect existing relations on a table. Okay. And we don't have any examples. So I would say enforced. We'll figure out where to add it, right? Then what else we have? Type normal by default shouldn't affect us. Literal types. This is something we might use. Then the chain method, not really. Typed let statements. Typed let closures. That's another thing, like anonymous functions. Okay. Type function returns. Sure. Type function returns. And then we have the checking the record ID and whatnot. Record thing. Maybe. I don't know. Diffs we won't be using, and array functions changes, like all on whatnot. And I think we also have the map. Maybe it's in the docs. Because that's the most fun part, in my opinion. But I don't know, maybe it didn't go live yet. We go to functions, database functions, array functions. Do we have map? Yes, we have map. The array map function allows the user to call anonymous function as a closure that is performed on every item in that array. Where'd it go? A map. On every item in the array before passing it on. So we can say array map. This is our array, and we call some kind of closure. Okay. So we can even inline the closure. So basically take the list of values 1 to 3 and map them just like in JavaScript where the value is times 2. So it should return 2, 4, 6, right? This is starting to become a proper programming language, and suddenly we can do fun stuff. So let's do anonymous functions plus array map, okay? And we can just give ourselves an example here, because why not? Okay. So we'll go with that. And this is Markdown. Why isn't it highlighting anything? It's all weird. Huh. Go figure. So was there anything else that we wanted to really touch on? Not really. Fine. We fixed the record casing. Okay, not really. And from Alpha 10, I don't know if we went over everything. Type function returns. Oh, it's again here. Interesting, because we already had it mentioned. Method chaining for database functions. Okay, this was mentioned here, so we can basically do all those. So let's also do method chaining. So these will be the things that we'll be looking on a lookout for. I wonder if this chaining works with an array.map. It does, because we don't need to call array map. We just do some array.map. Oh, this is glorious. In my head, suddenly I started talking like Spiff and Brit, but I for sure can't do that accent. Hello, Mithridates. Missed a PR for enforced. I see the syntax order is define table lacks type relation and cat out cat enforced. Oh, thank you for that. This is very helpful. Thank you. Let's copy it, and we're gonna just plop it here. So define table, and we're gonna have type relation and cat and out cat and enforced. But the question is, can we use that with custom define in and out? Is that syntactic sugar if we don't have any other constraints on those? Interesting. That's something to explore. All right. Again, something to explore. So now that we have this, let's put it aside. I'm just gonna plop it here, or just do something a little bit different with it. Type relation and cat out cat enforced. There we go. This way it'll be a little bit easier to read through it and keep it nice and small. Beautiful. How are you doing, Mithridates? How are you doing? How's your day or week going? Okay, so starting with the first one, what's going on here? Restart extension. Oh, later. We don't need to view extension here now. Okay, we start with the access. So define access users on this and that. Okay, this needs to stay the same. We're not doing anything here. And what are we doing here? Oh, this is where we're turning a string into a record. Interesting. Didn't we just have something about it? That something got fixed and it should be maybe a little bit different way. Let's just check. Bug fixes, right? Fix record casting from string. Casting it to a record with a specified table to validate was not possible from a string. So I guess now it is, right? So we can just say record user, right? Hopefully this is gonna be possible. Let's see if we can just test it. What if I'm going to do return record user? And the token will be basically a string like user ABC123, right? Let's see if this works. We got the thing working. Okay. And if I'll make user A and run it, it'll be like, oh, sorry. Okay. Wow. This already makes it safer. Awesome. And absurd user, token name, token email. Okay, that's our first change. So now that we have this defined, we can just push it to the database. Okay. When we go to designer, nothing here. Explorer, nothing here. Oh, because this is simply access, not even table yet. Then we have the approved. Okay, this is gonna be a little bit more fun. A method that says, good, the horrible sticky part of the summer in Korea is over. Weather will be awesome for the next 100 days. Before it gets cold, right? Yeah, here in Georgia, Georgia OS, also the weather starts to be a little bit nicer because it was just horrible, unbearable. This year was extremely humid. Yeah, but feels like an accomplishment to actually survive it. All right, so we've got the table approved. Type relation, schema full permissions. Okay, and we have those permissions here, which is all and good. So we have an n, and the n we just check if it exists, and out we just check if it exists. Okay, we're not doing anything fancy here. So this is a perfect spot where we could just use it, right? So we do type relation. In will be record user, and out will be record comment, and forced. There we go. So that means we can get rid of those two. Bam. Oh, feels so good. Thank you, Misha. That's awesome. So yeah, this is gonna be nice now. Let's just see if this actually gonna make the database happy or unhappy. Run. Ooh, there was a problem with the database. Parse our unexpected token. Relation. Let me just check the thing. I mean, this is how it's supposed to. Oh, wait. I don't need the record in there because that's kind of obvious, right? That's the only way it points from a record to a record. What did I just do? Okay, let's copy that. And so it says, oh yeah, looks like you have similar mugginess to ours. Checking on Weather Spark, the misery score is about the same. Yep. The only thing is, I don't know if in Korea you have a lot of bugs, like, bothering. But here, especially I'm like right in the middle of the forest, it's just horrible. So many bugs. You can't walk out and not get covered in them. And put it on top of cicadas this year. Yeah, it's really waiting for the cool weather. Okay, so this got accepted. Looks like we've got our approved relation. Okay. The graph won't update, I guess, yet. But hey, that's progress. That's awesome. Huh? Failed to parse the query. Oh, because, yeah, we don't worry about that. The Surrealist hasn't been updated to properly support 2.0 syntax yet. I guess that's where beta comes in. Now we know that we have this set of features and it's worthwhile to actually start doing things with it. So let's see if we have anything else here. Date approved stays the same. This stays the same. This is just an index, and then we've got some events. So let's just put those in. Okay. This looks good. Approved, no records. The graph, I guess, won't be updating for some reason. I guess this is again unsupported version of the database. And then we have got some events on approval creation, and maybe we'll find a way to do something fancy here. When, then, I'm actually gonna reformat it a little bit. When something, then something, and just end it here. Okay, I like that. So test it properly with frontend user. Test this properly with a frontend user. So yeah, that's a to-do. We're gonna leave that to-do in for now. I believe to-dos we should do double dash, I think, for comments. So if after n not in, and we do this whole madness here, dot flatten. So we already used the dot instead of array something, so that's cool. Okay, this is all good. This is all good. Stays the same. And the changes we need to do here, make here, not really. I just want to reformat it a little bit. There we go. Cool. And the last one is here. Again, nothing really to do. The only thing is we're converting the ID to string. Oh, this is just for printing it out as an error. That's all good. Okay, so we can create our events. And we should be good with this table. Okay. Problem. Parser expected closing delimiter. Oh, yeah. An update. Huh? Where did I find update? Oh, here. Yeah. So let's just add those missing ones, like this one. Nothing here, nothing here. Okay. I guess that's the only one. Yeah, there we go. So we should have it here. Designer won't show us functions. Okay, this is for just seeing our functions. All right, cool. So we went through this one. Let's go to authored. It's a relation from to. We can do exactly the same thing. End user, outpost, enforced. Yep. And this will make sure they are properly defined. This stays here, and the index stays in here as well. Perfect. So we'll just plop it here, run it, and we have another one defined. Now the comment. This one is a little bit longer, but we'll see. Shouldn't be too bad. So the comment is just normal schema full with permissions. We worked on that a lot, so I assume it should be correct-ish. And now we have string length value. Can I just do this dot length? That would be awesome. Let me try that before we run it. Hello there. Dot length. And we're gonna just do return. There we go. We can do that. Oh, this is so nice. Oh, this is beautiful. Okay. I'm so excited about it. It just makes it so much more readable when you don't need to read backwards. On type comment, record user, make sure it exists. So in theory, we could do dot exists. In theory? I mean, in theory, we could just do this. I know it's more characters, but at the same time, it just looks nicer. Let's see. What if I'm gonna create a table wall and it will be ABC 1 to 3. Okay. And we're gonna set, and it will have whatever name will be. I'm just putting garbage data in, and this will be maybe sibling, which will be wall DEF 4, 5, 6. Okay. Well, let's create it. We just created the thing. So this should exist. This should not exist. So let's try that. And yeah, I can zoom in more. So let's do wall ABC 1 to 3. I guess I would need to take this thing dot exists, and I mean return. Can I do that? It says true. What if I'm going to grab this? It says false. All right. What if I'm going to do this thing dot sibling dot exists? False. What if we're gonna create the thing? Okay. Okay. I'm gonna create this guy. And now this should say true. Oh. Sibling doesn't exist. Oh, because we created a wrong one. Ah. Okay, it wasn't lying. Awesome. So that means we can use that in our queries. Instead of having the crazy syntax with double exclamation marks and just confusing the hell out of somebody that comes in new into the database, or just ourselves, like because your brain needs to process that. Okay, this is the double exclamation mark. We're just taking the ID and whatnot. If you see exists, that means we're checking the actual what do you call it? The actual existence of something. So that's awesome. All right. So because the value here already is an ID, we don't need to do .id. Because if we try to get .id on something that doesn't exist, we'll get a none, and then try to run exist on none, it will just freak out. So this way it should work. Alrighty. Here, this is fine. Post comment. This reply to is none, or ID is this. Okay, so this stays the same. And this is an optional record. So the value is none, or the record that it points to, it needs to exist. Okay? Exists. There we go. And next count, all that stuff stays the same. That looks good. The same thing here with approved is just either true or false. And then we go to events. When the ID is okay. So here we're checking if it exists, right? So on comment created, we basically ensuring that the new value for the comment, wherever post points to, exists. And this is purposefully an event because we're checking something that the user doesn't have access to, while the event has. So we can just do after post exists, and we'll just if not exists. Okay, and suddenly it's a little more readable. There's no this weird is none. Are we checking for some value? Do we check just for existence? And now it's more clear. Update this approved, blah, blah, blah. This is all good. Similar here. Before approved is not none. Before approved is this and that. Okay. And approved is true to all bunch of this fun stuff or bunch of this fun stuff. Okay, that's fine. And the last one, similarly, just simple. Okay, I think that's it. I think this should work. So let's try to put it here and see what happens. All worked. Okay, beautiful. We probably cracked the most complicated one already. So then we've got the contains. It's a relation, and we just need to make sure that in and out exist. Okay. So in, series, out, post are enforced. And therefore we don't need this whole bunch. We just need to ensure we have the relation in there. Okay, this is gonna remove a lot of code. These are good changes. It's about from post or series to topic. And this is where this or already kind of existed, right? So let's just do in out and forced, because we're just making sure they exist. And this should be it for this particular one. Okay, beautiful. Let's just plop it here, and the database is happy. Awesome. Then we've got learned another relation. The only thing is that for out, we have a special case. And this is where I'm not sure if we can use that. No, we can't use that special enforce. Can we inspect a table like this? We probably can't, because when we go to the designer, it will be just empty. And that's it. Okay. Too bad. Let me just check. We have flags, manage feature flags. Do we have it set? Serial compatibility 2.0. Okay, so it's in here, but yeah, it's not supporting it fully yet. And there's no like update, right? Yep, no update yet. What if we're gonna run some like info for DB? Will this give us some information about the thing? We have users. This is our thing, and we have tables. So we have the table is about, right? Blah, blah. And look at that. Relation in, out, and there's no enforce here. Okay. So let's do info for table is about. I don't know if that's the syntax. Yeah. So what did it do here? Fields in define like this. Type record, post, or series, permissions full. And the same thing here. Okay. No assertions, no nothing. Interesting. Maybe it's just the info for DB doesn't show isn't able to show the whole enforce yet or something. So let's try is about leads from a post to topic. So relate. Let's do post ABC is about topic nothing. We should be able to create this relation, right? I mean, we shouldn't be able because it's enforced. Okay, it says post ABC does not exist. Okay. Hello, Taras. How are you doing? Still on vacation, I hope? Still vacation. Oh, you're waving for me on on YouTube, so I'm gonna notice that a little bit to the right, higher up, there's the thing. Okay, our startup is cutting costs. The startup is cutting costs by sending on a vacation. Oh no, okay, you're a bit concerned because they started cut costs. Well, considering the current economy, I am not surprised. You just got to know. What the hell was I trying to check? Okay, oh, looks good. The wave hand looks very interesting that came from YouTube. I believe investors or founders are greedy. It's not like we are not successful. Okay. Yeah. They want to cash in. I hope it's not gonna be too bad and job stays pleasant. Okay, so this does not exist. So let's try to do something fun here. Taras says it is more about how much shares people receive. Or okay, I see. And Taras is asking, how was your game stream? It was pretty pleasant. Accomplished a little bit more than I expected. So yeah, next Monday will be a little bit more progress. Next Monday will be probably inventory system and moving items and managing them so that we have some of the basic mechanics and we'll have items to interact with stuff. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll do something over the weekend. I don't know yet. Okay, so we were about to define learned. So let's do this. We're gonna define learned as from user to post enforced, okay? But that means that, I don't have to override the in, right? I would have to override out, make sure that the value exists, and value is learnable. And I wonder how this will work, because I should be able to override it, but doesn't mean that suddenly I lose that extra enforced thing for the in. How does that work? And what if I have this and I'm gonna try to run this suddenly? Will this erase the learnable part? Very interesting. That just straight up makes me want to play it safe and just do it this way, which I think I'm gonna do right now, just to avoid too many distractions. We're just gonna do it this way, all right? The old way, we'll just update exists, and the rest stays the same. Yep, We'll wait for the documentation on enforced because I have like a million questions on how it works. Because it's all in the details, to be honest. Alrighty. So the next thing will be liked. And liked for n, we have not only yeah, here we have not only just a simple check where for liked I actually didn't have that check, which is interesting. But also we have the permission specified. So this is another reason to not have the separate enforced, and we need to do it manually. Okay, so assert that the value exists, and this is the permissions, so that stays. And for liked, the post or comment again needs to exist. Oh, we can't do that. We can't check if it exists. Can't check if the post exists because the user doesn't have access to it. So that's another thing. How does that, and if we would specify enforced, would it actually be able to go and check if the post actually exists? Or will it be like, oh, we'll pretend that it doesn't because you don't have access to the table? So that's another question that would need to be answered. And Tara says, today I have made a to-do list for stacks, and it is giant. It's not even talking about the starting UI version. Oh yeah. It happens so often that you just start making something relatively simple where the big check marks in your head is like, okay, I'm just gonna get this, this, and that. And then we start going into edge cases, just explodes. But hey, at least you have a checklist, right? That paints a picture, and you can get busy checking them off. Awesome. So we have override this thingy, and then we have basically the checks for liked. Okay, if we can create the liked or not. So on create, update likes count. So on create, first of all, we make sure that whatever we're pointing out exists. So if it doesn't exist, we need to say sorry. Then we have meta.tb of this. We get the table. So we can take this and do .table. Oh, this is so much nicer. Oh, this actually looks pretty now. So we get a table out of it that way. And approved is false, can't like an unapproved comment. That's awesome. And we just update the values. Awesome. Just close up some stuff that shouldn't exist and running. There we go. So on delete, update likes count. All this stuff. Yeah, nothing crazy here. This can stay the way it is. All right. Let's see if it's this still will be approved by the database, and looks like it is. Awesome. Okay, we're mostly through. We have post interactions. That's just the view table, and we need to wait for it a little bit because I believe we need to have the post defined first. So let's go over the post first. So over at post, type normal schema full. Sure. I actually stopped displaying this thingy on the side. And forced, plural types, let, anonymous functions, and all that. Yeah, we didn't have. Oh, we're already using those everywhere. Awesome. So override title, description, the slug, and we can just start using this way. .len. Oh, beautiful. And we can just do .slug. Awesome. Now imagine this would be implemented for all the functions, even the custom ones. Oh, that would be so nice. But I don't think we can do that really. Featured, all that stuff is good. Obsolete, draft, learnable, OG image, and published on. It will be a set. Okay. And we just specify the actual things. So is URL. How do we get to this one? Because I think there were examples. This is just the fix. We needed the was from here, right? Method chaining for database functions. Is underscore number. Okay. Beautiful. So we just do is URL. Is URL. Oh, how pretty. Okay. Yep. Nothing crazy here. All looks good. All looks good. No room to put something in. Then we have when event is delete and this and that and that. So this is basically a bunch of checks. And then we get the length of the updates array. Latest update, select from this and that. Okay. This just looks like we can't do much about that. And just the index at the end. Okay. This looks good. So let's try to put it in here. No errors. Beautiful. So that means now we can go here to our post interaction. Post interactions. And yeah, no changes here required. Okay. That means we have so many already. Post interactions, nothing. Voila, we can just remove table. This shouldn't exist here. Yeah. So now we have requires relation from to. Okay. And this is overdefined here, so we don't really need to do anything here. So let's remove this part. Okay. We have n on table, type record post, and we basically check if the new value is not the same as out. Oh, because this is requires. This is so that something, let's say, a post can require itself, because that wouldn't make any sense. And this dot exists. There we go. Cool. That's good. And this will have basically the same thing. And value exists. And it's learnable. There we go. Okay. All right. This looks good. Wow, there's lots that went into that schema, to be honest. So many edge cases, so many guards everywhere. That's absolutely crazy. So then we got a series. That's just a normal table. Okay, description, the slug. Again, we can use our new functions. And the same thing with a slug here. There we go. Yeah, perfect. So how many points? So Taras, how many points do you have on your checklist? On your to-do list? The number would probably paint a picture for everyone. Alrighty, so we've gone through that. Now we have just a few more things. We're gonna get back to test data for now. Let's go over the topic. Nothing to update here. Again, same stuff here. We need to make sure that the topic is larger than 1. Huh? Oh, the slug. Okay, the slug is longer than 1 character. And actual slug. Okay, cool. And I've got user. So, oh yeah, of course we need to add it to the database. There we go, run the query, beautiful. And user is this, permissions, whatnot, username. Okay, we can just specify it like this. Option string, so either value is none of the email or the value is email. So again, we can do is email. Perfect. Even AI figures out what's the pattern. It's that simple. This is good, and this is good as well. Perfect. So this should be the user. We'll paste it, we run it, and no errors. And the last table is viewed. And what do we have in viewed? It's just a relation. Check value, check value. We don't have anything else, at least yet. Okay. So this whole viewed thing, I don't think this viewed will be written by the... I don't even know if I want to have that existing. But we also have this situation where the user requests to see a page and we want to just log in that they viewed something. So in some way, we want to kind of let them add it to their history, because no big deal. If you wanted to view everything, go for it. No big deal. But at the same time, not really, because do we want the viewer to point to something that doesn't exist that they viewed? How does it screw up our feature requests or something? It would be nice to have that check there. So this will be probably a good spot to simply have this in, out, use post to use topic, enforced, okay? Because we won't be doing any other checks. Let's just have it this way. And let's see what happens. And Jerome Natio, thank you for subscribing. If you're watching. Okie dokie. So we'll get here in a second. So let's just put it into here and we should be good. Everything should be already in here. There we go. That's a lot of stuff. And designer, oh, now designer started working. What the heck? Great. I don't think it's gonna show us anything interesting. The last thing that we added was viewed. Where do we have viewed? Viewed. When I click on it, you have type relation, incoming and outgoing tables. Okay. Permissions, none for everything. Fields. When we go to N, it's not gonna tell us anything about it. If we have any assertions, yeah, field assertion is empty. So this whole enforce thing must be set somewhere there. Behind the scenes is just the info statement, doesn't show it yet. Nor, of course, nor does the surrealist. So we're kind of, walking blind, but we should be fine. We'll figure things out. Okay. So what's next? So the next thing to do is to basically look at our test data and start putting something in there so that we can get our data going. So let's just push those things here. Maybe let me just see here if we need to update anything before I do anything. Nothing crazy here. Nothing crazy here. Okay, this all looks good. I don't think we need to specify anything crazy here, so we're good. I'm gonna just push the changes. We basically update schema to 2.0 dash beta.1 feature set. Okay, because that's what we're basically doing. Nothing was wrong with our schema. We're just making sure it's up to date with all the fancy bells and whistles that the new version gives us. Okay, so let's start maybe by creating some quick posts. Okay, I'm gonna probably just go over this here. Let's just have this data all the way here. So yeah, let's just start with the first one. So here it just shows that we're gonna post 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? So post 1, bunch of stuff here. We can probably just let's use the new features for I and how are we supposed to use those ranges? Range value support. Okay, just dot dot, right? For this and that. Beautiful. So what we can do here is for this and from 1 to this is all inclusive, right? Oh, so the first value is inclusive, the last value is exclusive. We can exclude the first value like that or include the last value like that. Okay, so let's do from 1 to let's actually do something more fun. Let's make 2,000 of them, okay? Let's make all 2,000 of them. Yeah. Gonna make 2,000 records. I want to start seeing a little bit more data in our database to have a little more fun queries. And the way we're gonna do it is just making sure I have proper syntax. Yeah. So we're gonna do this, and then we need to create those posts, right, with the ID. So we should be able to probably do the thing, right? What was it? We have array functions, record functions, exists, ID, TB. This is just for reading. I'm just trying to remember how to create one. Type thing. So we can say this is the table, this is the ID, and there we go. So let's do that. Type thing. Let post ID is type thing, and we of course posts, and this will be no, and this will be basically the word post plus this, okay, and this should create a post. So create post ID, and we're gonna set a bunch of stuff. So again, we'll have the post space and these things with the title, the description. Slug will be simply like this. Obsolete false, draft false, learnable true, OG image wololo. We could do random stuff, right? Maybe we'll just start investing in that. Let's do something random. So basically what we're gonna do here is find random database functions Bum, 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 bum. Math functions. I don't think we're gonna have random stuff here. There's round, but not random. Random functions. There we go. Random floating point number. Random boolean. Okay. Random bool is boolean. Value from specified values. Okay. Float. GUID. Everything is here. Enum. We give it a bunch of values and it's gonna return a random one. Also, okay. Wow, this is actually simple. Huh. So okay, we've got the title, description, we're gonna leave whatever. Slag is we're gonna leave it whatever. And for now, obsolete will be everything false. I want just some of the stuff to be as draft and some of the stuff be learnable. So we're gonna do the draft to be random, right? Rand boolean. And we're just gonna get a random one. There we go. The same thing for learnable. OG image, whatever, same image for now. Published at is now. Okay. This should give us 2000 posts. The only thing is that each one of them, we also want to relate to a specific author, okay? So I wonder if we could just make few temporary authors, just the fake ones, that we can kind of try to authorize things as. I mean, we have this special user here, but this is like not much help, to be honest. Yeah, because one thing is to use those real users that when I log in, it gets the account created and therefore the user is being set. And it's different to do it some other way. Maybe we're gonna just hardcode this one because I believe this one is supposed to be something else. But then if I'm gonna try to create the authored, the authored will probably be upset that the user doesn't exist. Huh. Let's create a bunch of temporary users. Sure. I'm gonna do exactly the same thing the same way here. We're just gonna have 5 different authors. Okay. So this will be the user ID. Okay, user, and it'll be user, and let's actually do test. Test user. And what did we have defined as a user? What data do we need in there? Let's just get rid of all the tables in the behind there because it's just a bunch of distractions. So user has a username which needs to be specified. Okay. So basically create user ID set. And we're gonna do username is test user this. Then we've got an email which is optional. So let's just plop it like this. We're just give them some email for now. Doesn't matter. And anything else? Created at and updated at. It all sets itself. Okay. So we're good. That's how we can create 5 test users. The only thing is we can't really. Oh, I see. So look at that. Because we iterate over here, we can have the list of those users later. Like we can't have a situation where we pick random out of the list or something. And Taras, wow, you were writing a little bit. Have you heard about mermaid diagrams? Yes, I heard about mermaid diagrams. I even made a little article adding mermaid diagrams to AstroMDX to solve a few issues. So I actually did a lot of them. I love mermaid diagrams. And what is a slug? Slug is basically when you have a blog post. If I'm gonna go click on localhost, you can see that it's the slug is basically this whole astro-mermaid-mdx. It's just like the URL part, the unique thing that will lead you to the blog post or some kind of content. Okay, Taras says, I usually use plant UML. I only learned about mermaid recently. I used to use plant UML a lot, but the thing is that mermaid has more support and you can just straight up put it in GitHub. Method says, okay, enforce is documented now. Awesome. Wow, that was fast. We're gonna check it out in a second. So with Mermaid, it's kind of more fun because you can just go on GitHub and in comments or in PRs everywhere you can just do triple backtick and put in mermaid diagrams. And that's it. Like if I were to go learning Surreal, right? This here. Do we have any pull requests or something? Issues? Nothing. Oh, that's too bad. But I could probably go to a specific comment. Can I comment on a comment? Probably not. Well, I can't find anything to actually comment on right now, but yeah. Does Methodates work on Surreal? Yes, I believe Methodates is part of SurrealDB staff, and I'm not sure what you're specializing in, Mithridates. You seem to be mostly around the documentation. How would you describe your role in SurrealDB? I don't think I ever really asked. Okay, so what was I saying in the meantime? Okay, about the test data. So here, we don't have a way to capture those user IDs to have as an array to maybe pick a random one to relate to, like, you know, a random author or two authors for the specific something. Because of that, we could probably do something like this. Let's just wrap it in parentheses. We have numbers from 1 to 5, and that should be an array. Now we can map it. We're gonna take the index. And what was the syntax for it? Oh, I closed that little example. I should have kept it. It was somewhere here, anonymous functions. Okay, like this, and then we just write. Okay, so we should be able to basically create user IDs, user names for those, right? So for every I, we're gonna basically do test user plus this, okay? And this should give us a list of those. So this will be basically, oh, and we should probably make a thing out of that. Can we map the map? ID. And we'll do type thing, user and ID. And we don't want to map. Wow, then we could just go straight up. The AI is suggesting that after we get the IDs, we just straight up map them to those and get the records. Holy macaroni. We're not going that far. There we go. So this should give us the thing, but we can probably just make it further into this and have a single iteration rather than multiples. Okay, this should be somewhat readable. Somewhat. And we just need to do let. Wait. Let. Okay, method that says, yep, I'm a technical writer and every once in a while I touch the Rust code. That's awesome. I always found it interesting role to be a technical writer. I kind of really like documentation, and I can work on documentation bursts, but then suddenly I get an itch that, okay, I need to touch actual code. I think I would say that I did some technical writing for Valtown. It's a pretty interesting startup. Just allows you to run JavaScript in a browser, but it's amazing. And they send me a hat at some point. I don't have it here, but yeah, it's an interesting job. It's just I know that I get burned out quickly with that. By the way, you're doing an amazing job. You're just staying on top of everything. Like, wow. So we say let authors, okay, is this. So we're gonna basically specify that generate a bunch of usernames as authors. Therefore, we can do the author ID in authors. So we don't need to calculate it here anymore. Okay. Or do we? Oh no. So let's do this. Let's not convert it into a thing. This will be just their usernames, okay? So author usernames. Whatever. We're gonna go over that author username. So we're gonna just do this. And therefore, we can say that username is just this and email is just this. Okay, and thanks to that, then we can basically later go over those, create actual IDs for those, and just continue. Okay. Method that says, I can tell you like documentation too. So many focus so much on their, so many people focus so much on their code that they forget that people need to be walked through it. It's the art of answering questions before they are even asked. Yep. Like, I can already point out that or let me just check the docs because I haven't bothered. I want to check the statements. I want to check the let statement. Look at the syntax. Okay. Do we have these functions, predefined and protected parameters? Conclusion. Okay, so we, for example, don't have the docs yet for specifying the type. While here we have it marked that the where was it? Type let statements. There's a PR, but PR doesn't have an examples. It just allow more options for type enforcement. It would be nice to know how to do that, for example. So, you know, something like that. Yeah, because I really don't know how to specify the type right now. Where was it? Here. So let's actually see if we can generate those names like this. I want to run some of the code. We're gonna go here and let's see if I'm gonna do this and do return author usernames. What is going to happen? Those are probably running the map function. Oh no. No such method found for the range type. Interesting. Maybe you can map over that yet. Oh, right. Need to get on that. Let stuff. Okay, so we can do just like that. Record user. Okay, that will be something here. We just need to figure out why can't we run map on the range like that. Alrighty. Range value support. So we have this ID range to retain origin behavior or value range. Additional now possible to check the value is within range or loop over range with for statement. Okay, so we can use for that. Check if it's in, but doesn't seem like we can turn it in an array. Let's check the array functions. Maybe we can do something here. Because something tells me array already has something to generate a list of stuff. It's just I thought maybe I could iterate with map over array. That would be fun. And Taras says, I just tried to use Mermaid for bigger mind map, and it's harder to look at comparing to mind map from Plant UML. Yeah, Plant UML seems like it's sometimes more polished and has way more features. It's just I found myself to rarely actually make things as large as I would need to consider using Plant UML. Just the fact that I can just, I believe I can just go to VS Code, right? I'm gonna make a new, I'm gonna mark this as Markdown. So like this should be some mermaid diagram. Okay, I'm just gonna do, AI is already suggesting, okay, it's a mermaid, and I'm just gonna make it into sequence diagram, and it's gonna do something, and I'm gonna click here, and it's already printed out for me. I don't need any extensions. It just can start working. So that's something that I like. And mind map contains to do for stacks. Okay, that's why it's too large. Okay. But interesting. I use mind maps probably way less than I should. What the hell is this? What? What is generate? Sequence diagram. There's Alice and Bob. Alice to John. Hello, John. How are you? And then we have health check. John on John. Fight against hypochondria. What the hell? Note, right to John. Rational thoughts prevail. And John answers, great. How about you? Oh, this is actually really funny. Did AI just make a joke? I totally didn't expect that. Oh, we have Alice, Bob, and John. Oh well. But yeah, that's why I like Mermaid. It's just already there. And the fun thing is that if you're working with some kind of AI, what AI am I using for in VS Code? I'm using Super Maven. It's more fun alternative to Copilot. It's nice because it sometimes suggests stuff like, you know, if I'll do space here and I don't know, I'll start typing something, it either wants to add something behind it, sometimes maybe it will insert corrections in the middle and it's way faster and smarter. I know, better Copilot. And do I know a lot about AIs? I wouldn't say I know a lot, but I tinkered a lot with them. So I kind of expect what to do. Like, with AIs like ChatGPT or Claude, sometimes it's helpful to actually provide a mermaid diagram for them in forms of, you know, a markdown dash 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 mermaid and something like that, and I don't know, flow to follow or something like that. And it can actually understands it. Also, you can ask it to generate your ones, and most of the time it will be helpful. So it's a good tool to kind of make sure that AI keeps track of stuff. And Taz is asking, I'm wondering, what are the all-included types of AI? Like, it does most of the work for you. Not sure what are the all-included types of AI. I don't think there is such thing yet. I mean, the most famous one is, I guess, Devin. Devin is this, you know, is supposed to be this AI that they're developing that, you know, can test stuff in the browser, can run stuff in a terminal. It just uses actual IDE. You give it a task, and it iteration after iteration keeps working at it until it gets to some kind of result. So maybe something like that, but that's not something that's open for everyone to try yet. I guess there will be some ways to before that happens. Okay, I was searching for array functions. If add all, append. How about generate something? Difference, filter, find, first flatten group, insert, intersect. How do we create a range or something? So that we can iterate over it with an array thingy. Crazy thought. What if I'm just gonna go straight up, say, hey, treat it as an array, and then map it? Will that work? Found this for parent author usernames, but expected record user. Oh yeah, because it's a string. So we can just cast range into an array, and that's gonna work. Huh. What the heck? This is an array of strings. Okay, that's the type. At least we know the types work. There we go. This worked. Huh. So let's make it inclusive, up to 5. And we're gonna get 5 users. Beautiful. Okay, we just solved the problem. That makes me really excited. For a second I thought we're gonna have a lot of trouble here. But looks like maybe not. So I've got this, and this means that we can basically generate the user for each one of those. Okay, so let's try that. These will be test users. So we're gonna straight up run this thing. Run. Bam. If we're gonna go to Explorer, go to users, we have 5 users. All right. Awesome. Mithras says, learned something new. Array casting. Yep. I noticed that it's used often. Like whenever the unknown shares some kind of magic solution, it's using casting. It's a funny tool for, like, I know it feels funny to use it in a database, but hey, I'll take it. Okay, so now that we have all those usernames, that means that in theory we could generate those again. So maybe instead of let's just keep it like this. So for all 2000 posts, we generate a post ID. So we should probably do something similar like here, where we basically get the 2000 post names. So let's do post IDs, okay? In an array of strings from 1 to 2000, and this will be a post and something, okay? So we post IDs. So here we're going basically go over all the post IDs. And so we post ID. String. Just so it's, obvious that it's a string. So the actual post ID will be this plus this. And then we create the post. Title will be just that. Description, slug will be this dot slug. Why not, right? And random stuff here, and that's it. Okay. So this way we can generate all of those, and just in case if we have to, we can always regenerate those IDs here. So yeah, that's great. Okay, so Tara's asking, do you want to check to do for stacks made with Mermaid? Hell yeah. I would love to check it. It's in the README right now. Okay. Let's take a peek. Let's do stacks Taras. There you go. Perfect. You got 12 stars. That's awesome. It's in the README. Linux stacks doctor commands. Okay. So this looks like the UML thing. Okay. Command. Okay, we've got all those. And there we go. Oh, it even has like a plus minus and everything. Holy moly, this is a fancy one. Look at that. Okay. It's a little bit convoluted, right? Clearly, it has no idea how to handle this much crowd. Huh. That's funny. But hey, at least it generates it, right? Makes it somewhat readable, somewhat understandable. It's just things are overlapping a little bit. Yeah. That's not... I've never used mind maps from those. So I didn't know it's that kind of ugly. It looks like they're trying to make it look more like a less programmer tool, more like a, your typical visual fancy tool with, those thick things of flat design and whatnot. I definitely like the programmer art of those because they're just focused on the content rather than the way you present it. Huh. Cool. And that's not that long to do, unless each one of those items then has actual to-dos. And that says, I think for you it looks even worse. Yeah, it probably depends on how we generated it, right? Because right now it looks like that. If I'm gonna zoom out, okay, it already, okay, when I zoomed out, look at that. Every time I zoom out, it generates it differently. Oh dear. Yep. But now we have less overlap, so that's already better. Yep. And does it assign? No, it doesn't assign colors randomly. It's just this goes into here. I guess this comes from here or there. What the hedge? Okay, at least you know how to read it. You prefer to have stable generation. Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I'm surprised that it actually is not doing that, but I guess here the viewport is variable, so it tries to align it to viewport, so that it always looks nice. Nice. But yeah, go figure. Okay, so we've got those, and so beyond just creating the post, we also need to relate them. So as we're already going for every post, we can basically do more stuff. So let's do another for loop inside of there, and let's do something like author index, or like just $i, in from 1 to equals random. There we go. Because I want to generate how many authors something should have. We had it here. Array functions. We want to go to random functions again. So we have random, returns a random floating point number. Integer returns a random integer. Can we specify from to between two numbers? The following example shows if two numbers are provided, then the function generates a random int between two numbers. What do you mean between? How is that between? Is that which one is inclusive, which one is exclusive? That's kind of a big deal in random. So let's just straight up delete this, and we're gonna do return random integer from 0 to 1. I want to see what happens if I'm gonna try to generate this. 1 or 0. So both 0 and 1 are inclusive. I'm gonna go from 0 to 3. 0, 1, 2, 0, 2, 2, 2, 3. Okay, so they are all inclusive. So on both sides. Good to know. So in that case, when we generate, we want to go from 1 to random int from 1 to 3. Okay. Like the post can have at most 3 authors just to not go crazy. Oh no, because I want to just get the random ones. But that means that if we're gonna select a random number from the users pool, that means that we might have a situation where we try to duplicate something. So we're gonna make it we're gonna make it that each post has 1 author for now. And Taras is asking, do you know any other similar products to SurrealDB when they extend or change SQL? Probably most of the new databases nowadays. I'm not sure exactly. I haven't tracked a lot of them, and I never delve deep enough other than just reading about something to really know what extends what to what extent. I don't know. I can't tell right now. But at the same time, you might think about it, PostgreSQL has a bunch of its own syntax compared to MySQL or whatnot. Microsoft SQL has a bunch of other things that, for example, Postgres doesn't have, or any other ones. So each one of those is kind of unique. So the question is, when do you consider it extending / changing? Because many of those features, even it's often that we have the same feature in 2 different SQL databases, yet you have different syntax. They're not working together. And regarding Mermaid, you were right. Generation is stable in accordance to viewport size. Same viewport size will have the same arrangement. Yep. That's how it's based. That's what it's based on. While plant UML, doesn't it more like scale depending on the content size or viewport size? I don't remember. They both work a little bit different. And it's viewport dependent because when you're rendering mermaid diagram, it literally, you need a browser and it uses the whole window of the browser to basically start generating shapes and whatnot, including styling. That's why styling is all in CSS. Therefore, it's inherently viewport size dependent. Okay, what we're doing here, okay, we needed to do this. So relate user, and we need to pick the random user, right? And relate to host ID. So how do we select the random user from the database? I've got an idea. Let random username. We're gonna return string. Or no, random username is, and we can search for how to make the lambda stuff again, right? The anonymous ones. This way we can just have temporary function for generation of stuff while we're not polluting anything too much. Range values, and we had the idea of anonymous functions. So they were basically let double is and this thing. Okay, perfect. So we just want random. Can we leave that empty? Do we need it always specified as an input? How does that work? Documentation is already there. Really? I don't think it's in the let statement, right? The anonymous functions. You can define, okay, we have separate anonymous functions and data model closures. Okay, there we go. Parameters expression. Basic function definitions. We have this. We can specify multiple. Error handling. You can also enforce type constraint within your function to prevent mismatches. So we can specify what's the return type. Okay. All that's fine. But how is there possibility of a closure that doesn't have input value? I guess not. At least not in those examples. Why is it that every time I want to use a feature, I just instantly hit an edge case? Am I like abnormal or something? Let's just do it as an X and we'll just ignore it. We're not gonna use it here. So random username will basically go over it will return a string. Okay. And we can make it have something, right? String. Yeah, I guess we can wrap stuff in here and expression like this, hopefully. And we don't use anything else, huh? I don't know to what extent we can just start building it up. And there says in PlantUML you can use their markdown to change arrangement, which I think is better. Yeah, Mermaid has very limited saying position ago. This is on the right, this is on the left. It's very limited, and half the time it doesn't work. In PlantUML, it works like 100% times if you have something small, and like 20% times when you have something complicated. Yeah, at some point I just want to do it manually, in my opinion. All right, so let's try it out. Let's try this little thing. So random username will be pick the random number from the number of those usernames. Okay. So we're gonna do I. Let I is random from this to the length of. There we go. Just not this fashion. Okay. Random integer from this to that. Yeah, not inclusive. There we go. So we return the authorism names this, and this should give us the random one, right? Because if we were looking at random here, we have random enum. Yeah, we don't have random that takes something else. It has random value from a multitude of values. Following example shows functions. Can we do like give it an array instead? Because if that works, I don't need to have anything fancy. Okay, round enum, and we'll do 1, 2, 5. It's just gonna return 5, 1, or 2, right? What if we're gonna make an array inside of it? Okay, it takes stuff from the array. Okay, all right. So we don't even need all that. All I need to do is just screw all that. Yeah, let's do that. Let author IDs be array of record of user. And this will be basically usernames map, where we take the username and create this thing. Okay, so this will be the author IDs. Here I'm going through usernames because I need to create those, and therefore I need to create the proper thing here. I mean, there will be even better way to do that, to just have an array of objects that have both ID and something else, and then we can. Yeah. Wow. Okay. My brain is working hard right now. So let's do this. Let authors. Okay. And I'm not gonna type it yet. I'm just gonna say it's an array. Okay. So we're gonna do it this way. We're gonna generate a bunch of those usernames, right? Because this should be just usernames. Take this array, map it into those usernames. And then we can take those usernames and map it. Name. And we're gonna map it into, can we just literally return an object? Will that work? So let's do name is, let's do username is name, comma, ID is this. Will that work? Let me check if this will actually work, because if it's gonna work, I'll be ecstatic. No. I mean, I don't know. Return authors. It worked. All right. Okay, so basically if we have the anonymous function and we start brackets, that doesn't mean that we're opening a new code block. It just means that we're simply creating a new object. unless it's smart enough to recognize which one is which one. That's another thing to kind of figure out, because it wasn't specified really in the docs. Okay. All right. Yeah, as when I do technical writing, I have the problem where I instantly see all the edge cases and I really want to cover them all. And because of that, the documentation gets just overly complex. Because, oh, there could be a question here, there could be a question there, and there, and there, a million of them. And because of that, it's hard for me to write something simple. Okay, so if that works, I can skip this whole part. Okay, that means we can iterate over authors. Let's call it author. And therefore, user ID, we don't even need that. Create author.id. Then set username is author username. The same thing here. Then post IDs, we just create the posts. Oh, there's the posts. We're just gonna do exactly the same thing. Okay. Dot map. So we're gonna have the title is name here and ID is this. Beautiful. So we're just gonna go over posts. This is post. We don't need this. So this will be the post.id. Set post.title. Post title slug. There we go. And here we're just gonna do random enum, and we're gonna put in authors. Okay, so we're getting the authors, random author.id. We related that it authored and this post.id. This starts to look nice and clean ish. And yeah, and this should take care of basically everything here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy this whole thing. Okay. And I'm not gonna run it. I'm not gonna run the whole thing because the author's already created. So I'm skipping that part. I just generate the authors and posts, and then gonna create all the posts and relate one author to the post. Let's see what on earth is gonna happen. Oops. Random enum. That was a problem with the parse error. Unexpected token. Expected this thing. Okay, I see. So I guess we need to wrap this in parentheses. Nope. Here, .id. Okay, expected this delimiter to close. Oh, I see. Run again, please. Oh, did it run yet or not? I see. I need to do the same thing here. I need to wrap this like that. Run. Oh, this run just 1 second. We're gonna go to explore. Post. We got 80 pages. There we go. We got 2,000 rows. Some of them are drafts. None are featured. Some of them are learnable. Oh, beautiful. Okay. Huh. This worked. We just generated a bunch of stuff, and then we're gonna go to user, right? Gonna go user 2, relations, outgoing relations. Holy macaroni. It's an authored bunch of stuff. So authored, we have 2,000 rows, okay? Because the authors authored some stuff. Like the test user 1 authored the post 626. Okay. I like that. I think we just learned a lot. And just the fact that we can generate data relatively easily with random stuff in it. Just like that. Okay, I am loving it. That means we can have a quick way of just basically generating tons of test data without having a document that takes up, 30 gigabytes. Okay. So in that case, I'm gonna push those changes because this is something exciting. Automatically create test users, posts, and authorship. Okay. Authorship, that sounds so weird. Okay, so now it would be nice to add some comments. Haha. And Tara says, did you know that JetBrains has official NIM language plugin for IntelliJ? I know. I tested it and it's really, really, really basic. And at this point with the NIM plugin on VS Code, for me at least crashing instantly, like non-stop, it's kind of no different. But yeah, it's like nothing works there. It's basic syntax highlighting, nothing else worked for me. So that's kind of not fun. And Mithridates says that's when you write a book or multiple guides. Yeah, where you want to cover everything. Yep. Maybe I should start writing a book about SurrealDB, right? Test everything that there is. I think it's a little bit too early because it's still changing so much, so quickly. There are so many unknowns and things that are not really fully defined yet that I guess it's a little bit too early for books about Surreal. Okay, so now I was thinking like, hey, what if we're gonna just make it that we have comments and whatnot? But I don't think we're gonna do that yet. We could just try to create a comment or something. Do we need to create comments yet? I don't think so. Let's just generate a bunch of likes, okay? I'm gonna skip comments for now because we did so much of comments. I just want to run some likes, who liked what and what, and let's just generate those, and that'll be it. So I'm gonna do generate users, like test users. Then we're gonna do generate test posts, and then we're gonna do test likes. Okay. So for that, we're gonna basically go through the. How do we do that then? Because the thing is that we can't have a situation where user likes a post twice. And, normally I wouldn't worry about it. Just get around the ones, and if this is a duplicate, just don't do it. I mean, we could just check if it's a duplicate, if that relation already exists, and then not create it and just move on. But that's lots of code. So I was thinking like, too bad we don't have error handling. We would just handle that, okay? If there's an error, just ignore it. But we don't have that. It's not possible yet. So how could we do that? Where for each user, we want to get a random subset of the larger set. Mithridates says define index unique will do it. Yeah, but it will do it. Ensure it. We already have it defined. The thing is that because this index exists, if I'm gonna casually try to create the extra relation, we'll get an error thrown. And we don't have a way to recover from an error right now. It just crashes the whole thing, just cancels it, and everything falls apart. We don't have a way of capture, like, oh, there's an error here, let's ignore it or something, which would be awesome right now. But we don't have that feature yet. So that limits the queries a lot, in my opinion. I wonder if we could do maps to do that. Yeah. So I've got an idea. What if we're gonna do this? For user, user and all users, right? Or what do I call it? Authors. Let's do author, okay? For author and authors, we're gonna go over those authors one by one. And basically for an author, I want to make let, and this would be posts to like. Okay? So we're gonna do this. We're gonna grab the array of all posts, okay? Array of all posts. And then what the hell do I want to do? Because I wanted to map them. Oh no, I want to actually do the other way around. So I wanted to grab something like a number. So let's say let likes count, okay? Likes count will be let's make it from something like post dot length divided by 4 to post length divided by 2. Let's see what happens with that. Basically, in our case, or let's say maybe by 10, it'll be for an author. Author will give maybe from by 5. It will be something like 40 to 1,000 likes. Okay, we're gonna just generate that number from 40 to 1,000 at this point, or something like that. Ready? What the hell is 2,000 divided by 5? 1,000 divided by 5 will be 200, so it'll be from 400 to 2,000. From 200 to 1,000, okay? And then what we're gonna do is basically iterate over them and grab a random one. And then we can eliminate the duplicates from that array. And we're gonna end up with an array that has like roughly within the range, probably. So we've got the target likes count. We're gonna do basically we want to get a range from 1 to likes count. Okay. So we're gonna go over this range of those things. So we can probably just do so from 0 to likes count. Okay. I'm gonna map it. We're gonna ignore the whole I thing. And what we're gonna do is just grab a random post. Okay. It's ID at least of that post. And this way we're gonna end up with an array of those. And then we should have an extra thing to call that will basically remove duplicates, right? So array function. And we have either flatten or group. So flatten would flattened already, but we can just do group. So just in case it flattens and returns unique items. We also had something like D, right? distinct returns the unique items in an array. So let's just do that. Dot distinct. Oh, this is beautiful. Oh, I really like that. Too bad we can't just do console log in here or something. That would be useful too for debugging. This way we know, like, okay, this author generated that many and whatnot. But yeah. I mean, we can just do throw post to like, and we'll see what is the result for the first author, right? So let's try it. Instead of working on permissions, I'm just kind of playing around with other stuff. So sorry for me for a misleading title. I'll need to change it, I guess, into tinkering with the new beta and generating randomly generated test data. Okay, so we just generate the authors, we generate the posts, and this way I'm not creating anything. I'm just gonna get rid of those. So we can go to the authors, create this, how many, and just throw whatever we have returned. An error occurred, none. It's, whoa, okay, there's nothing here. What if I'm gonna do this? Parse error. Query ended. Oh wait, I need to do this. Run again. Whoa, bunch of nonce. Okay, so we're not getting something here. So get a random value from the posts, right? Just grab a random one. And that should be an object. So if I'm gonna cut that thing out, what the hell's gonna happen now? None. Okay, so what is going on here? And it's just distinct because they're all the same none. Okay, array from this to that. Let's just do return. This. Okay, let's see what we're gonna get here. Likes count. Oh, I need to do this as well, because I think the number here is fine. The len function, no such method found for the non-type. What? Oh, of course. Let's just do this. So we generated a list, okay? All the way to 775. So that's fine. That worked. So this part works. Post to like. So this turned into a list, so that's good. So what is the problem with this? We map it where we take the thing. I'll just remember to X because it's whatever. So we take the number and we take random enum out of all the posts. Something tells me this will actually work here. No, it doesn't. What? Why can't I get a random value from here? Return posts. What did we generate here? Because it was used and run proper data, right? Yeah, we got all the 2,000 posts. They all have ID and title. So that is not a problem. And we were selecting it this way before. Exactly the same way at some point, right? No, we were selecting from authors. Huh. But it's the same kind of data, so this is kind of surprising. Like, what the heck? So we map it. Okay, I am not sure why it returns nonce everywhere. And Taz says, okay, I'm to sleep. All right, have a good night. I'm gonna keep scratching my head like, what? Why? Run enum. Yeah, that worked. Always. We have this, and this is the closure. So that should work. No problem. Is it upset that we're not using the value from the closure? We didn't use it here. Oh, yeah, wait. Do we have any kind of something where we didn't use the value from the closure? Can I just do this? Well, it runs. It still doesn't return anything. Let's do this. So we're gonna say that this is the post. And index is this. If I'm gonna use it and it's gonna be fine with that, this will be weird. Ah, now it's fine. But the post is none. So that's not a problem. Why random enum when I give it the list of posts is freaking out? We were able to. How do we use it on author? Random enum authors. So that worked. What if I'm gonna do the same thing? So return rand enum posts. Can I just run this? It can return a random post. Okay, that's fine. So why would posts be out of scope here? That doesn't make any sense, to be honest, because I can use it from within random and here. And unless because the post isn't available inside the map. That would be a real bummer though. I mean, that would be a lot of copy paste data if it needs to, but I believe this would just keep it by reference behind the scenes. What the heck? How do I put it in there then? Map. And I return this. Will this work? Yeah, I guess it's out of scope for it somehow, huh? So yeah, technically they are still anonymous functions. Can't enclose outside variables yet. Okay, when they can truly be called closures. Okay, so it's on the list of things to do. I see. So I basically can generate it that way, huh? Okay. So let's do it a different way. Let get random post, and I want what ID? All right, get random post ID is. Gosh, I'm trying real hard to do it some weird way. So what we're gonna do is basically random integer from 1 to 2000, and this will be what was it? Post plus string of this thing, and we just need to wrap it in this whole type thing. Okay, return get random post ID. Can I do this? Yeah, I got random post ID. And okay, so that works. So instead of finding and selecting one random from the list, we're just gonna do straight up this thing. Let's just wrap it in this one. It shouldn't be a problem. Although now I probably can't call this function. But what I can do is just copy this whole thing and just shove it right here. There you go. Okay. This should work. It's ugly as heck, but it just might work. Okay. So I want to see that. Okay, we've got a list of those. Beautiful. And some of them probably repeat. So we can basically grab this thing. Let's uncomment this. Yeah, random, this and that. Post to like, array, likes count, map. And instead of I here, we're gonna have this thing. Sure. And then distinct, and this will basically tell us what post to like. Okay, so these are posts that we'll like. And these are all unique. They shouldn't be any duplicates in there. Okay, so if that's the case, I'm gonna copy this generate likes. Okay. Ugly as heck, but will work. So now what we're gonna do is basically relate. Oh wait, for each one of those we need to call relate. So for post to like in post to like relate, we're gonna have author ID liked and post to like. Okay, that should be it. That should generate absolute tons. I mean, we have only 5 authors, so it shouldn't be too bad. We don't need this part. There we go. Oh, of course. Wrap it. And remember about semicolons, because they might just make things not work if they're missing. Okay, I think we just generated stuff. So we go to Explorer and we go to Liked. We have 2,564 rows. Okay, so we've got a lot of data pointing in all the direction. 103 pages of that. Beautiful. And the thing is that we also should have all the... it took so long. How long did it take? It took nearly 2 seconds just to create 2,000 relations, right? But the reason is because when we go to post, we can see how many likes each post has. So the 5 posts have 5 likes. All right. So if I go here, relations is who was the author and who liked it. There we go. Test user 2 liked it. Okay. Yeah, that's the thing. Magic. It's all updated. Therefore, when we go to post interactions table, we also have it here. It automatically updated here how many likes each post has. Huh. Okay, things are working. We're testing good stuff here. And I'm just getting stupid excited about a little silly thing. So add likes generation. Okay. So we know the likes work to some extent. We don't really know if normal user can like something though. Something doesn't exist. Let me just check. How do we have it defined here? If I'm going to go to liked, we can see that the type relation, and for in, we're making sure that it exists and the author is, the actual author of the like. But here we can't check if the post exists because the user doesn't have access to it. And therefore, we have this whole event where we can check it and a bunch of other stuff because this happens without permissions. Okay, and we have other stuff going on. So this actually executed, the 2,000 something times as well, this whole code. In addition to this. Okay, and checking for the thingy here, for the index here. So not too bad, not too bad. So that means that we don't need any special treatment for that. So in that case, I'm just gonna jump and go. I'm gonna jump. I'm gonna run to the bathroom for a second, and then we're just gonna see if we need to add anything else here right now. All right, so I'll be right back. Alrighty, I'm back. So basically what I wanted to look at in here, we have the additional things that, green stuff is what we basically took care of. All this can get a checkboxes here. So let's just fix that so that we keep track things. Post ID, yeah. Likes count, yeah. Comments count, yeah. Last comment time, we don't have that yet, but I don't care about that yet. So what? Liked for users and posts, for users and comments, we have it finished. For approved, I believe we have it finished to the point where I'm happy with it as well. And then we have authored, viewed dates, and learned date. So the thing is that user cannot specify themselves if they authored something. They should be able to only see what are the posts they authored. Okay? Additionally, if we have a situation where a user is, oh, look at that. So we also have a situation where, when we're viewing a post, we're going to have names of the author show up as who wrote it. Okay. I don't think we need any situation where the user actually queries like, hey, give me the actual user data for authors. Okay. Because the thing is that our Astro will have access to this data and it can generate pages for those authors and links already for us. It'll have its own queries to generate the data, to generate, pages for users who basically created something, okay? So from that perspective, I don't think we have to worry about it. Therefore, users only have access to their own users. They don't need to have access to the authored. The only thing is that I would like the users themselves that are authors to see what posts they authored. Okay? If that makes sense. At the same time, what does it look like from the code perspective right now? For the authored, we don't have any permissions here set. We have only who authored what. No extra checks here, just if it exists. And notes. So I don't think I'm going to do that, because if you're an author, you can click on your profile. It will get you to your public profile where you see the post you created. Ay. Do we need the functionality to get the IDs of those posts or not? We can probably just add it quickly here, right? Let's do that. So an authored, we want very limited access. So let's see how we did it with something like liked. Permissions for all this stuff. So we're gonna do basically permissions for select only. Okay, only for select, where the N is the user itself. Okay, so this already means that those relations can be displayed only for those who are the authors and nobody else. So you can check your own stuff. So I would add that. We can view the notes and we can view the in and out, where it leads to. And that's it. All the other permissions here are basically prohibited. And that's it. All right. I'm going to be fine with that. So let's update it here. Okay. Bam. Yeah. So I'm gonna again create a pull request. Teeny tiny, but sure. Allow authors to list posts they wrote. Okay. This is just for listing them, so that's that. And what was I doing here? Okay. So now I need to click the authored, and that's green, right? Awesome. So now we have viewed dates. Oh, viewed, and learned. They both have a date of when this happened, right? So again, users should be able to list the posts that they learned. And that's pretty much it. So we're gonna have exactly the same thing. Learned. We want to basically, if you're the author, you can preview it. And what fields do we have here? In, out, that's fine, and when. And that's it. So that's good with me. That should be fine. So again, we're just add it here. Bam, done. And the same thing was for viewed. As a user, you want to see what you viewed so far. But the thing is, post, series, or topic. Okay? We have this whole enforced here. So that's the thing. I don't know if it's going to be possible to create that relation. The same thing goes with learned. So we're going to check that in a second. Also, oh, and for the post, it needs to be learned too. So this straight up won't work right now. We're going to get back to that. And for viewed, yeah, because learned, we want the user to also be able to mark that they learned something themselves. Okay. Hey, I learned that. I want to mark it that I learned it. And the same thing is for viewed. The front end should be able to just register. Okay, this was viewed. I'm going to mark it as viewed, so it's in the user's history or something. So now what? I mean, sure. Oh, wait. First of all, user can view only their own stuff. Okay. Then for creating the fact that they viewed something, select create. Okay. They want to be able to create it. And something like date exists. Okay. And we don't have an index here specifying that, okay, specific user can only view the specific thing one time. Now that's simple. That's why I have it to do. Make it so that we keep only like 10 entries for each unique user to think. So let's say we have only last 10 times the specific user viewed the specific thing. Do we even need that? You know what? Let's get rid of the viewed. I mean, this is a kind of interesting thing. We could probably relatively easily make it an event that whenever this thing is created, go and fetch all the other relations that point from the same user to the thing, find the oldest one, delete it if we have more than 10. And that's it. It's just, would that be really visible? If the user wants to view something, they go to their browser history, it'll be fine. Let's just straight up delete it. Bam. Bam. There we go. Everything just got simpler. So viewed, delete. Okay, cool. There we go. Less stuff in the database, a little bit better. So I actually need to go and delete it from here as well. And I'm gonna go the easy route. Just gonna go to designer. And where's the viewed? Viewed. Delete. Bam. No more. Okay? We don't have to view it anymore. So the last thing what we have basically is the learned. So the learned is basically, the whole idea is that a post can have a little check mark that when you finish reading it, you can just check it yourself. I learned this topic. And therefore, if something else requires it or whatever, it will tell you like, oh, you already know that. You don't need to learn that. It won't show up anymore in suggested reads before this other article that might, depend on it or something. So because of that, our learned has basically, we learned it, the user. We need to make sure it exists. And what did you learn? And you can mark something as learned only if it has the value learnable set to true. Okay? Because some things that just don't make sense to mark them as learnable. Like, oh, there's this news article. It will never be a requirement for something else, so no need to make it learnable. And then we have date, when we learned it, and this is read only. Okay? Because you can click something that you unlearned and then click again to learn it again. It'll be fresh new record, so we never ever update this thing. And again, it's a unique relation between in and out, so a specific user can learn a specific post only once. Okay, and it leads only to posts. So the thing is now that we can view those, okay? No problem. But we also want the user to be the one that clicks the checkbox and sends the request to the query to the database like, hey, I just learned it. Please mark it as learned, okay? So we want select and create. We don't want any update because we will never be changing it because it has only the date. And we will want the delete because we want the user to be able to delete their own stuff that they want to click unlearn. And again, just for themselves. So in that case, we can check if their user ID exists. I mean, it's kind of, duplicate because if this is true, that this is already true as well, but just in case I wanted, because this guard will also run for not only due to permissions for the record user, but if I'm gonna go in a database now and manually try to create it as a system user, this will run again and it will prevent me from creating a relation that, some non-existing user learned something. Therefore, this is good to have anyway. But for out, this is regarding the post table. So as a system user, I have no problem checking that. But as a record user, I don't have any access to the post table. So I can't check if that thing exists. And I can't check if that thing is learnable. So this particular part, we need to move into event. So that we'll define event unlearn create. So when we create that relation, we basically, on table learned, I'm gonna just plop it on the one here. So when the event is create, then we won't be updating anything. We basically need to do the bunch of the checks. So come on, AI, stop inserting tabs in a weird way for me. If jeez Louise, if value exists. So basically we need to check if not after because when we created it, the before didn't is always none. So after dot out exists. So if it doesn't exist, whatever we're pointing out, can't learn something that doesn't exist. Okay. Then the additional thing is that we have learnable. So if not after out learnable, can learn non-learnable post. And that's it. I don't mind that if you're gonna point to something that doesn't exist or whatnot. It's basically, you know, what would you call it? I mean, somebody could kind of start checking, maybe there are some drafts or something, and this would actually allow to learn a draft. Huh. So I guess we would need to go through our stuff and make sure that we're not allowing drafts to be learned or liked or something else. Huh. Or probably comments created on drafts. That's another thing. So if we're gonna go to the post, we can see that we have title, description, slug, featured, obsolete, draft, learnable, and when it was published and whatnot. So we need to make sure that the draft is being checked. So let's start with learned. So basically, let's do if it doesn't exist or after out dot let's just make it here. The let post is this, so that we can just kind of make it a little bit easier to read. Okay, if post dot draft. So if it's a draft, also just say can learn something that doesn't exist. So let's consider that if it's a draft, it just doesn't exist. Okay. Awesome. Good. That means that this will already do all that. And for deletion, we don't need to do anything else, I guess. Yeah, for deletion, let's just not bother. I mean, not bother. Somebody can delete their own learned, and that's pretty much it. So from that perspective, we're good. All right. So in my opinion, this is finished learned. So I will need to update this to apply the permissions. Bam, we got the permissions defined. And then we need to remove those checks from here because they were moved into an event. An event also, is being taken care of for system users. So that's not a problem. And we need to have this event here finished. Let me just make sure that I have all the stuff here. Okay. Yep, that looks good. Just okay, yeah, that looks good. So we're gonna copy this, paste it here, and we've got that event created. Cool. So now when I'm thinking about it, for the post, what about the post interactions? We need to make sure that we're not showing posts that are drafts at all on this list, because this is a list that the users will be able to see and query. From post where draft is false. Okay, that's the important part here. Can we do overwrite here for that table? Will that work? Let's just, first of all, let's find something that's a draft. Explorer, post. Let's just search where draft I mean, we already have post 1 is draft. So in post interactions, we have post 1 right here already, okay? So this shouldn't show up here because it's a draft. So if I'm gonna do this override will actually update it. Was not executed to failed transaction. There was a problem with data store transaction. Transaction read conflict. Ah. Run again. Bam. So I guess we cannot use overwrite when we work with the what do you call it? When we work with the value type. So that's probably a bug. So let's do remove table post interactions. And then we're just gonna define it again. Bam. Now it worked. Post interactions, refresh. See, post 1 isn't there anymore. Now we have 991 rows. 991 posts out of 2000. So this will straight up not show the ones that are not allowed for the users to view. Okay, that's awesome. So let's actually start doing some of that. So remove the viewed relation and decided to not use it anymore. Decided that it won't be needed anymore. Okay. Then we had the learned. So basically, finalize permissions for learned relation. And then will be don't expose drafts to you know, public users. So that means we need to go through other areas to see wherever we access the posts that we don't allow things. So let's go to our view here. So for learned date, this is finished. For authored, the user, if they are marked as an author of an unpublished post, I think they should get its ID, no problem. I don't see a problem with that. If you're gonna be an author on it, you're supposed to, you're fine with knowing about it, right? Liked. You shouldn't be able to like a post that is a draft. So we need to get back to this one. And then we have liked for a comment. That's fine. But the comment post, this little part, we need to check it. What was there? No, warning. Okay, there we go. So we need to add a warning on this one, just to make sure that we check that when we do checks, when we create a comment, we cannot create a comment on a post that hasn't been, that it's a draft. And approve a comment, that's fine. So looks like only liked is the thing that we actually do here. Interesting. Everything else will be, whenever users will try to get a list of posts or search for something there, like likes count or whatever, they'll be going through post interactions. They're already guarded for the thing. So just 2 places. So let's go to liked. And we might actually finish the whole thing tonight. Yeah. So we go to the liked. That's a good song. Church by Mr. Ozio. Ozio. We go to the church. Alrighty. Select. We can select, create, and delete our own likes. I'm just gonna ignore this whole users thing. It's just adding noise. We're just gonna have only one type of user right now, so I don't worry about that. So, okay. When you're logged in, you can create your own stuff. Or should we have it access users? maybe we should, maybe we should. Approved has that. Here we just need to add this little part. Okay. So we're just gonna put it right after where. Good. Comment. That's fine. Contains, no big deal. Is about learn. Learn needs that as well. Liked has that. Post interaction. Post requires. No, we don't worry about that. Okay, so that's it, I guess. And the user can do all their old stuff while comments. Yeah, there was nothing here. Okay, and post interactions. Everyone can view post interactions, and that's it. Okay, so for the liked, when we like something, we make sure that the user that liked it exists. Okay, and out can check the post exists because it does here. So this will be an event. Event if the out exists. So let's do the same thing with this after out. Let post is this. So we're gonna simplify it a little bit because we're reusing it in so many spots. Okay. So if the post doesn't exist or post dot draft or the post is draft, a draft, then we can do that, right? So the thing is that the comment, it doesn't have a property draft. Therefore, if draft is specified to true, this is gonna throw. So we don't need to worry that, oh, there's no property on your draft on comments and it's gonna fail because of that. Because if it's none already translates to false. Therefore, this won't be thrown through it. So that's good. Okay. While if it's a comment and approved is false because this one actually needs to be true. So yeah, that's good. That's good. Okay. So maybe not name it post because this could be post or comment. Target. Okay. There we go. That's good. Blah blah blah. And for deletion, we don't worry. Okay, cool. So here, let me just look up what changes I made. So for learned, I just need to update it with the users. Okay. Bam. So that's the one that we can mark off. Authored, we just need to push this one so we have that access check. Bam. Okay, so this one we can check off. And then, so we ensure user access type checks for permissions. Okay, there we go. Push those, and now we have basically prevent likes on draft posts. Okay, so that's that part, and therefore we can make this one green again. And the last thing is to check if we can create comments for posts on our drafts, because this shouldn't happen. So for the comment, okay, when we specify the post, we can't do much of the checks. The only check that we can do here is either don't have a reply to, or the reply to needs to have the same post specified as this one, so that we don't have discrepancies there. So then we have basically uncomment created. If the post exists, it doesn't exist, can't comment on something that doesn't exist. See, we're not checking for anything here. So we need to do or after the post the draft. Or if it's a draft, also make it that it doesn't exist. Okay, cool. So what we're gonna do here is basically update this one. Copy and paste it, run it. That's good. And I just realized that for the other one, the liked, I didn't update the database with the changes. So this will be prevent comments on draft posts. Okay. So for the likes, what did we change here? Just the event. Okay. Liked. Let's go to the create event. And create update. This thing. There we go. Perfect. Okay. We might be done with permissions, because this now is guarded. There we go. Wow. Yeah. I think we're done with permissions. In theory, I could, add things like, count how many people learned this and that, but that's just like report data, so it doesn't matter. Yeah. Okay. This starts to look awesome. So we've got the situation where we have the front-end user, what they can access. Okay. Now the thing is that we have Astro. And Astro is going to be more like a system user. That's the access going to have. And the whole idea here is that the build system, whenever we build Astro, build the page, Astro basically goes through all the markdown files and start generating stuff for it. And in between, it could make API requests, all right? So the whole idea is to make it so that whenever we build the website and it gathers all the markdown files and whatnot, I just extract all the data from the front matter, because if I'm gonna grab it here quickly, this is the thing that we're working on so far. If I'll go to some random posts, common components, content blog, let's say the mermaid thing, right? This is the blog post. We have the contents of it, but we also have the front matter. And here we have basically the author, the title, the actual slug. If it's a draft, additional tags, which will be kind of changed up in the future, and all this stuff. So all this kind of already is here, right? And I don't want to have a situation where I need to go into the database or have some kind of CMS system to edit the topics, edit this and that, and a bunch of other stuff. I don't want that. What I want is basically to have a situation where every time I build my website, Astro will take whatever it needs from here and update the database with the up-to-date data. And right now I have something called verification UID, which is some kind of unique ID per post. I was using it for another idea of making system for liking things and whatnot. But I can basically make it so that every post, I'll just ensure myself that every post has a unique ID, okay? Because maybe a slug or something else I will change at some point. Right now, I want the post to have a unique ID. And because of that, I could make it so that basically Astro, when building the page, it takes this data and uses this ID for an ID of a post. Okay, I don't mind this value to be exposed or whatnot. It doesn't really matter. And therefore, it can just try to update or like upsert a post data. And this way, it will be always up to date in the database. So basically, we can imagine that every time we build a website, Astro just goes and we're gonna send all the data here, okay? So it'll be upsert. So update or insert if it doesn't exist, okay? That's easy peasy. And it doesn't need to touch things like, you know, the counts of whatever, because if we're gonna go to our posts, I believe, do we set it at some point? If on post date update, event delete. Oh, it's not delete, and the publish date changed. Okay, we redo some stuff. How do we get the likes count calculated and whatnot? We have default is 0 and default is 0. So I guess, that's a little more interesting part. How to do that? If I can make it specified in some way. I could probably make it a value so that either the previous value or 0. But then we wouldn't be able to override it somewhere else. Yeah, that's a relatively simple problem to resolve, those two values. So I wouldn't worry about that. So we can basically have Astro go and straight up, bam, let's add this here. Then the thing is that we also need topics and series. So I would kind of have to have those defined as well. And this is where I'm starting to think like, oh, maybe a CMS will be better because I could just do this and that. But at the same time, I don't know any CMS that supports MDX that I could easily, quickly edit and, you know, wouldn't need to worry about, okay, how do I synchronize it with, you know, my current database, testing database where I was writing content to the other database, and it just suddenly becomes so much more to manage. So if we would be able to find a system where maybe it's that simple, I have those tags defined, like I can just add tags by name or maybe some kind of ID, probably by name. And then to be able to define the content for the tags themselves, somewhere separately, so that when I send it to the database, it'll figure itself out, right? Where maybe I would create topics first, then I would make posts, and then at the end I would make series. Okay, that's the order I would go over things, creating them in the database. So first would be upsert. I mean, that will be the second. So the first thing would be to have Astro basically send all this data here. Then I'm just gonna make sure that I have the same kind of arrow. We send the data here, and then it will be the third one where we also upload the series. and we remove a post, I guess it will need to stay there. That's an interesting idea. Huh. Because, this will basically add whatever was, whenever we have a situation where we added new post, new item. Okay. I'll call it item because it could be either a topic or a series or a post. I could add any of those. Okay. Then we could basically change an item. And then we have a third option. Deleted an item. So that means that absurd wouldn't happen. We wouldn't try to send data to the database. We would just do nothing with it. And because of that, we have a little bit more curious situation. That means that maybe to something like post, series, and topic, we will need to add some kind of version number. So, let me think. Because there might be a situation where I just want to straight up delete a post. And you know what? I'm not doing this stuff anymore. This was bad. Let's remove it. Not archive it. Not mark it as obsolete. Let's just straight up remove it. And in that case, I know that the page will disappear. And in that case, I will probably need to remove the comments from there. As sad as it is, I shouldn't have data existing that's relating to something that doesn't exist anymore. On the front end, it's no big deal, but on the back end, I mean, on the development, it's not a big deal, but on a production, I would need to be just extra careful. So that's that, and have backups and whatnot. And all this stuff would need to be removed accordingly. So the thing is now that how do I detect the deleted stuff? So let's say that when things happen, Astro, let's just make it look a little bit easier to maybe display. So let's say that Astro will generate a random number, and some random number. It could be probably a GUID, right? Some kind of random ID that's guaranteed to be unique. It will generate it, and of every absurd, it's gonna send that ID. Okay, and then at the end, when it already sent everything, when everything got updated, it can send overall to the database. So I'm gonna just send it like this, and I'm just gonna make it finished. Updating, and we have the 1, 2, 3, 1, 5, 4, 8, 7. Okay, this is the whole idea. It just sends it somewhere to the database. I don't have like the whole database represented, but it will probably just call some kind of function, providing that ID that, hey, this is the unique ID that all the items that I updated got updated with that ID. Okay. And because of that, everything, when it goes to first, it goes to all the series. Are there any series in the database that have ID different than the one that I just received? If yes, commence deleting them. Then let's do the same with posts that don't have that. That means that if there's something with a different ID, that means like, oh, this thing got deleted, let's delete it. And then the last one will be the topics, the same thing. Let's remove the topics that are not referenced anymore. Okay, this sounds like an interesting problem to solve. And then basically links like, if you delete the post, what else needs to be removed? If it's a series, what else needs to be removed? Because some of the links and whatnot will just get removed automatically. The moment you remove the post or something, it will remove itself from here. But comments, they don't link with a relation. And you have a concrete object living here. So yeah, that's a little bit different. What if you want to delete a topic, but something is already pointing at it? This should be detected and basically throw an exception and abort this whole operation. So yeah, this is gonna be fun. But if we'll be able to implement this, this will basically make the whole system completely automated, where all the markdown files in a GitHub repository are automatically, are basically the source of truth. When the code gets automatically deployed to production, it will automatically update the database. Everything will happen automatically. I wouldn't need to lift a finger. And all the data should be retained. All the users, will have access to only the stuff that's being not drafted and whatnot. So this whole front-end side should update automatically. So yeah, the only way that I'll be interacting with the content is literally through markdown files. And that's it. So I must say, I like that idea. So this whole part is what we'll be doing week from now during next live stream, okay? We're gonna basically try to figure out how to do that. And I can already say that we won't have a lot of raw queries being sent from the front end. From the Astro, we'll be calling functions. So in theory, we'll be able to update functions on database rather than needing to update how it happens in the code itself. And this way, we'll be also able to do things in a way that, when you call a function, it's a single call, it's a single transaction. So you're not needing to do, okay, I'm gonna run a few lines of code, I'm gonna do this and that. It's gonna be just one thing, one function call to do the specific thing. And this way we'll be able to do, okay, does this thing exist? Yes, okay, just run and update, only update the whatever's necessary. Is it doesn't it exist? Okay, create a new one, make sure the counts are 0 and whatnot, blah blah blah. And the same thing for deletion. Run all the checks automatically. It will be just one function call, and that's it. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. I guess the biggest challenge for me will be to figure out where in Astro to hook onto to actually gather all that information and be able to send that to the database and proceed with the build only when everything succeeds. Like, where's the good point for that in the Astro code to, stop the build if something with the database doesn't work? Because the last thing I want is a situation where the database changes and something fails. I might even consider making it so that Astro sends all the posts and topics and series as a giant array, or one function call where you provide those 3 arrays so that I can have all the changes to the database happen instantaneously as a one thing, as a one change, as a one transaction. This way we wouldn't have a situation where during the build, some of the topics were created, but maybe some of them failed, some of the posts or something, part of the data was updated, while the other one wasn't. So if we would be able to send all the data at once without any hassles to the database, and the database will just, with functions, go over everything and just magically update, and tell us if it was okay or not, that would be just beautiful. So that's the goal for the next time. So yeah, that's it for today. Well, thank you for your help, Mithridates, if you're still here. I'll be looking more into some of those features that we're mentioning today. I'll be probably making a bunch of, if not pull requests, just a little issue here and there in a docs for what I'm finding that's missing. Because I'll be always finding something. And hey, also everyone, thank you for watching. Thank you for hanging out with me. If you enjoyed the content, consider liking and subscribing on YouTube, and consider also, if you're watching on Twitch, consider following there. I also have a little Discord server. If you want to join, go ahead. There's maybe 5 users there only, so it's still very, 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 very tiny community. But everyone's welcome. And next stream will be Friday. We'll be in the land in between SurrealDB and the NIM programming language. We're gonna have a second stream where we're continuing our work on making a database driver for the NIM language. The one thing I wanted to say is that I wonder when the C driver will come out for SurrealDB, because I believe there's one in works, the official one, because then we could, in theory, just generate bindings for that one, for NIM, and just use that. But we'll see. We'll continue on that. So that's that. And on Monday we'll continue with the long climb, the game I just started working last stream on. So that's it. Again, thank you for watching, and take care, everyone.